On a map, Argentina stands out for its physical breadth. It contains the highest and lowest points in the Western Hemisphere, separated by thousands of kilometers of desert, glacier, and mountain. In Mendoza, the Nazca Plate subducts beneath the South American Plate, thrusting the Andes skyward. The result is Mount Aconcagua, the highest mountain outside of Asia and the absolute physical ceiling of the Western and Southern Hemispheres. Yet, just a few provinces away, the landscape drops into the Gran Bajo de San Julián. Here, a salt lake called Laguna del Carbón sits 105 meters below sea level, marking the lowest terrestrial point in the Americas. With a topographical spectrum this wide, the logical expectation is a population that has spread out to occupy the vast space between these two extremes. But the data shows the opposite. Over 92% of the population lives in urban environments, leaving a tiny fraction across this massive landmass. Furthermore, a full one-third of the entire country lives in just one place, Greater Buenos Aires. This demographic concentration is the result of a geographical funnel. Physical barriers act as walls, pushing the population away from the edges toward a single point. The western edge of this funnel is formed by the Andes. This isn't just a mountain range, it is a steep, arid wall that runs the entire length of the border. This geography was so difficult to navigate that it stopped the southward expansion of the Inca Empire. While they established outposts in the northwest, the harsh conditions of the Patagonian steppe proved to be an impassable barrier. This 3D cross-section shows a historic flaw in the geography of those mountains. The highest peaks do not always align with the continental divide, the line where water flows to the Atlantic versus the Pacific. Because of these misaligned peaks, the border with Chile was the subject of a major 19th century dispute. Britain's King Edward VII was eventually brought in to arbitrate, drawing a new line through the valleys to settle the map. To the south, the wall becomes frozen. Glaciers like Perito Moreno create an environment of extreme winds and advancing ice that makes large-scale settlement nearly impossible. These vertical and frozen perimeters repel human settlement, effectively enclosing the habitable parts of the country behind a natural fortress. Moving inward from the border doesn't reveal more hospitable land. Instead, you find the Patagonian steppe, a vast wind-battered interior. Much of this region is defined by endorheic basins. As this diagram shows, water flows into these closed systems but has no outlet to the sea. It can only evaporate, leaving behind saline flats and inhospitable soil. The region is so arid that early Welsh settlers in the 19th century had to engineer an extensive irrigation system just to survive, transforming small pockets of the barren steppe into farmland. This emptiness is linked by National Route 40. At over 5,000 kilometers long, it is the only major artery through a landscape that contains almost no other infrastructure. This interior acts as a filter, an area people must cross rather than a place where they choose to build cities. The geography only yields in the center of the country. Here, the landscape flattens into the pampas, characterized by rich soil and a temperate climate. This fertile anomaly allowed for the rise of massive cattle ranches and the gaucho culture of nomadic horsemen who once dominated these plains. When refrigeration technology improved in the late 1800s, these open plains were quickly enclosed with wire fencing and turned into one of the world's most productive beef exporting regions. To move that beef, a new railway system was built. This map shows how those lines were designed to act as a funnel, pulling resources from the interior and redirecting them to a single coastal port. Millions of European immigrants followed those same lines, primarily from Italy and Spain. They arrived at the coast seeking work, with many settling permanently in the urban centers near the docks. The terrain of the Pampas directed the country's demographic migration toward the ocean, concentrating the population into a single massive hub. At the base of that funnel is Buenos Aires, a city built on the wealth and labor that the geography pushed toward the coast. The city's design reflects this concentration of power. Avenida 9 de Julio is widely considered the widest avenue in the world, spanning 110 meters across the heart of the capital. Building it required the demolition of entire city blocks. It was a massive undertaking meant to mirror the grandeur of European boulevards, emphasizing the city's role as the nation's center. The scale of the capital is the physical result of the rest of the country being so empty. It is where all the nation's energy is concentrated. By the late 20th century, the government realized that having nearly all its citizens in one coastal corner was a major strategic weakness. In 1986, President Raúl Alfonsín attempted to break the funnel's hold. He proposed moving the national capital 800 kilometers south to Viedma to encourage people to move into the empty territories of Patagonia. But the plan was derailed by hyperinflation and economic collapse. The move never happened, leaving the capital exactly where the geography originally dictated it should be. The country's physical geography remains the primary force behind its settlement patterns, locking in a demographic map few government policies have been able to change.